Hello, podcast lovers. Thank you so much for tuning back in. I'm Žana, your host, and today I have the absolute most privilege to have a conversation with somebody I just recently met. She is not only fascinating, but she an icon. How can I say, we resonated on one specific thing so much, which is really a sad thing actually, but I feel like because of that, because we both connected on that, we both lost people in our life that were not only soulmates to us, but they meant probably the world to us individually. And today we want to talk about grief and how we can overcome it. How can we accept? How can we just move forward? And how can we actually accept life for what it is versus how it used to be when the person was there? And so I'm so happy, Dr. Sherry Shoemaker. I'm so honored that you agreed to this, because I know not only from human to human, we have so many things in common when it comes to that, but I know that you turned your pain into something so much bigger, to just open yourself up and your own experience, and you combined it with your profession to really help other people understanding what and how they can move forward. So I'm gonna give you the floor for a moment to just really introduce yourself the way you would describe yourself. But thank you for being here, and I'm so excited for this conversation today.
Oh, thanks, Shauna. I am excited too. And I'm Dr. Sherry Shoemaker. I'm an intuitive grief coach. And I am a PhD in nursing science. I've been a nurse and an acupuncturist for over 40 years. And I have seen grief and grieving under many different circumstances. It's been a year and a half now since my daughter died. And she was 35. She fell asleep and did not wake up. And it was a total shock. Her work called and said, "We haven't heard from her." You know, she was an adult. She lived in her own apartment. She didn't talk to us every day. It was one of those things. And so we had the police do a wellness check, and they found that she had died, that she had passed away. And that was such a total, profound loss that I had never personally experienced. My parents had died, but they were older, they'd been sick. I just kind of, with my experience in healthcare, I had a pretty good attitude about that. And so
Right.
that went the way it was supposed to go, but not for my daughter. That
No.
was totally different.
Yeah. I'm so I this part to me is new, that she is not so long in heaven. So my absolute condolences. I want to take the
Oh,
moment here
thank you.
to speak out to you. And also I just have so much respect for you in this moment, because you seem so together, and I know I've met you in person and I know you are together, but like I cannot imagine that pain, because for me it was my mom and my dad that
Mhm.
really killed it for me, mentally and emotionally, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life, and I cannot even imagine how it must have been for you, for your to take that on, that the grief, the person you carried under your heart, and gave life to. So I'm so sorry about that, but I do also want to acknowledge that through that, and we shared this in person, through that horrible experience that we both had to go through, something rebirthed, right? Something
Yes.
beautiful, I feel like, rebirthed out of this deep pain that we both had to experience. And I wanted to see, when it first happened for you, what did you like? What was your kind of like the next 6 weeks? Like, how did that go down for you mentally? Like, did you make mentally a plan, or did you collapse? Did you just leave everything to the side, or did you like
Well,
find a group, or what was something?
I had a friend who was another acupuncturist who had
Mhm.
had training in many different things, and she was a coach also. And I called her and said, I really need to talk to you. But in the meantime, I had a job. I had to support myself. I had my son, her brother, and his family, and my ex-husband. They all wanted me to support them because I was always the caretaker. I was always the one who, like you said, had it all together, and I was the reasonable voice, and I was doing all these things. And I would find myself just collapsed on the floor, sobbing, like heart-wrenching sobbing.
Yeah,
And you know what, Shauna? I let myself do that. I
yeah,
allowed myself to do that. I didn't know I had that many tears in my body.
mm,
I just said, okay. And then, we at work, there's a policy about how many days you get off for bereavement, your bereavement leave. Well,
mhm,
those days were over. And I thought, okay, I don't have any choice. I got to go back to work. And I went back to work. And the first meeting that I had was with somebody that I didn't know, that I knew her from work, but I didn't know her socially. And I said to her, I, if I ask you to repeat things, it's because I'm not thinking, I'm kind of in a fog. My daughter just died a few days ago.
right,
And she goes, don't ever let anybody tell you how to grieve. I can't believe you're here. Don't
right,
ever let anybody tell you how to grieve. And at that moment, I said, okay, got off the phone, called my boss, and I said, I'm not coming back. I will let you know when I am ready to come back.
yeah, right,
And you can do what you want. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to make a decision. This is
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And fortunately, she is a great boss. I don't work there anymore. I chose not to, not because she did anything.
right,
And she, um, she just made arrangements, made sure everything was taken care of. All my responsibilities were taken care of, and just kept in touch.
right,
Let
right.
me take my time that I
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's so challenging to really say, and I completely understand if we're just really strictly talking business. I understand that your workplace is obviously a business that needs to
Yes,
still continue operating,
yes,
but it's really so hard to put like a timestamp on such part of healing that is literally happening, first of all, I believe, completely inside of you. It doesn't happen in your outdoor appearance. It's not like that you have a bruise and you put a band-aid on. It's literally all
right,
internal.
right.
And I again want to speak out respect for you to really knowing yourself so well and just respecting above everything,
Yeah,
respecting your own inner feeling of like, I need this, like, I need to put myself emotionally and mentally together in order to even understand, deal with it, and then continue to choose living life because we didn't have a choice when that happened to us. Neither you nor I had a
right,
choice. All we had is we knew that the world will still turn
right.
around us, but the fact that you said basically, I'm going to take the time that I need. And, everybody functions different. I know for myself that I was not because I wasn't willing, I was incapable in that moment to even get dressed, do my hair, go outside, work my job or whatever, I literally had only the energy to understand that this is my life and I had to be a mom because my son was very little at the time.
Gosh.
So I had to find strength and energy for him to be still a good mom, right?
Right.
And I feel like for me, what really was so helpful for me is in that process of not only allowing myself to take the time I really needed, but also to just feel what had happened.
Yes.
So the feeling of like, I don't want to acknowledge that they're not here. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go through that. Everything is fine. I'm moving on. Everything like that for me was exactly what I was like, you know what? No, they are dead. I am an orphan. This is my life. My reality is that I'm by myself. I don't have my support system. I don't have my cheerleaders. I don't have the biggest lovers besides God for me.
Uh-huh.
I'm by myself, right? And when it would overcome me, and maybe you can relate to that when that pain, when that sadness, because like you said, there's still days today. And my mom was, you know, her anniversary was just a few days ago, 5 years, and my dad is almost 14 years. So, you
Yeah.
know, and it's still days today where I'm like so crying like that very first time.
Wow.
Because, you know, it, I don't think you can ever get over death. In all honesty, I do not really feel that ever you can get over the fact that they're not there anymore. I think you can learn with
Mhm.
time to live now your new life without them,
Okay.
but I don't think that you ever will not think of them, or you never, you know, have a beautiful memory, or you feel the need of speaking about them, or you know
Right.
you say certain things that they used to do or they used to love or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because again, I feel like, and I'm not want to compare pains. I'm just saying it's obviously
Right.
very different if you lose your parents and then you lose a child. But what was certain things that you did for yourself when it literally overcame you, that feeling of like, you know, you have to function, but you also have that pain? Like, where was your
Right.
balance for like, okay, I need to deal with this, but how do I know how to deal with this? Do you get me? Like, what were your inner
Yes.
tools for you to be like, I did this or I developed that? Or
Well, Jana, there were several things. One of them is I know that I always have a choice. My life is made up of choices.
Mhm.
I could choose to stay where I was, to think about the loss and only think about the loss. Or I could choose to think about the love, and I could think about the grace that she gave me, the happy times. And the fact, in my belief system, is that she's in a blissful state. Anything that bothered her before is not happening.
right.
She is the happiest, amazingest person that she could ever be.
Yeah.
And for me to be thankful that she has achieved this, that,
Yeah.
and who am I to take her in this blissful state and go, oh no, you can't be like that. I want you to be miserable because I'm miserable. I'm in a miserable state. No, to honor her memory, I said no. I said yes to love. I don't like to keep saying no because it's more about yes, yes, I am going to live my best life. I am going to live a life of joy. I am going to live a life of love. I am going to have an open heart.
Hmm.
And that to me is honoring her
Hmm.
as opposed to going, I really miss you. I do really miss her.
Of
But
course.
here's a little thing that I've done when we had to clean out her apartment,
Hmm.
which for me was very difficult. But I took two of the plants that she had in her apartment, and I am known for not being able to keep plants alive. Those freaking plants are still alive. I have them in my kitchen. I look at them every day, multiple times, and I just go, thank you. They're all still alive. Oh, I love this. They're growing. They're getting bigger. And it just goes, it gives me a sweet feeling
Yeah.
that I can think
Yeah.
about her as that.
Yeah.
Or I have, I bought a necklace. This is not it. But she only wore flip-flops unless she had to go to work. So Nahoku Jewelers had a necklace with a flip-flop, like an adult one, and then one with a little child flip-flop that they put on it.
Uh-huh.
And I bought that, and when I wear it, I think of her. So there are things that I do
Yeah.
because I do think about her every day.
Of course. Yeah.
But I smile when it
Yeah.
gives me joy to think about her
Yeah.
because I know that what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and that's what led me to be a coach and to coach on this topic of going from grief to grace. Because to me, that is the best way for you to really honor
Reinvent
a person.
almost. Right. And reinvent and rebirth yourself almost again.
Yes. So, this is, it's, I think it makes life beautiful. It's not that I never cry or that I never just go, well, we were talking about taking a trip. I had taken her to the Christmas markets in Europe down the Rhine, and
Right.
we took a cruise. And so we were talking about doing something else like that.
Yeah.
And, I go, yeah, it'd be really nice if we could do that again. But I can still look at those pictures and just be happy that we did it. We did
Absolutely.
it.
We did it. Yeah.
Think about the things that you did with your mother. Think about
Yeah.
the things that you both
Mhm.
giggled over.
Totally.
Or,
I absolutely so resonated with the fact when you started to speak and you said that you're so blessed and so happy that she was for such amount of time in your life as your daughter. Just alone the fact that before she came into your womb, she obviously chose you to be her mother. What a
right.
blessing already, right? But then also for us to have them as long as we have them, because that was kind of like my coping mechanism with myself, that when my parents died, I was
Yeah,
like, I'm so blessed that they were there in my life for all this time, however long. Of course they should have stayed longer, of course, but at least I had that, and I had the best childhood, and I was holding on to all the amazing things and the teachings they gave me and the attitude I would have from my both parents, the point of views, and like just who I became to be.
right.
Like it all started there. And for us to choose, literally make a choice of, like, because it wouldn't change, because this was my realization. And for me, grief share was a huge part of my healing.
Yeah,
When I found
that's great.
a beautiful space where I entered grief share for 2 cycles, and I met people in that group that also had lost somebody around the same time, but nobody can understand you like those people. Nobody in this moment can understand you better than somebody that either been through that or currently is going through it. Because, and it's a kind of mutual soul connection with another human that cannot be even made up, because that part is so deep. And when two people connect on that, it's such a different connection. And through grief share, I really also learned, for me to just be in radical acceptance of things, that I cannot, it doesn't matter if I choose to be depressed for a whatever amount of time, sad, angry, frustrated, all of the stages of grief. And maybe we can touch on that too, because I
Yeah,
know I've learned from myself that there's many stages in grief,
right.
you know, but radical acceptance for me was honestly the best thing that I could have chose for me, because it's like, I am still needing to be a mom to my son. I still have my own life. I'm still healthy. I still have the blessings in my life that I have, and yet I can't enjoy them anymore. But am I sad or happy? Does it make difference? It doesn't make a difference because it won't bring them back.
Right.
My life has to continue no matter what. And so why not then choose what they wanted us to be anyway? I don't think not your daughter, not my mother, not my father wanted from any point of view for us to be so broken and so incapable and so sad that we're missing out on blessings that they're now sending to us.
Oh, good
And that's like
point. Excellent point. Yes.
and that's like the last thing I felt like. I'm like, you know what? I'm so happy because I have two, besides God, besides all my guardian angels, I now have two more souls up there that are like protecting me and my son and sending me blessings and opening doors for me and like helping me to see and grow. Like, and when I tapped into spirituality through that much deeper, I
Yes.
really started to see things that were actually so beneficial now, even
Yes.
though it's still connected to death, right? But
Yes.
don't you feel like it's really all about your own point of view on things when it comes to that? That what you really tell yourself or want to say to yourself in this moment?
Yes. I think that everybody needs to find their purpose and needs to be accepting of who they are.
Right.
And that unfortunately, we are not normally taught to do that because we have these social, and that includes through religion, through social mores, through work, corporate, any kind of a job. These are your expectations. You do not
Right.
vary. You don't, in school, everybody has to sit still. Everybody has to do their writing. Everybody has to perform in this way. And if you vary that, it's very, very difficult for you. So you go back to just doing the same old thing. And so when you have an event that is tragic and difficult, you don't know what to do. And the people around you don't know what to do. And it makes them uncomfortable if you
Right.
change or if you do something. So you do have to go inward and you really have to allow yourself to learn who you are. And that's how I begin my coaching. Let's be with you. Like you said, everything was on you, or you
Mm-hmm.
felt like everything was on you.
Mm-hmm.
That was your perception.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get you comfortable with being in that position. Let's help you understand that all the things that your parents did for you led you so that you could be the strongest person that you are.
Right. Yeah.
That they didn't want you to rely on them for everything because that would not let you be you.
Right.
Let's help you be you. And you can have all the feelings, yes, and that includes all the feelings that you have and go through them. But don't wallow. That's the only thing. There's so many times when people just wallow
Yeah.
where they're at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't help you get through your purpose or whatever they would want for you too. Because like
Yeah.
I said, they want you to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love the fact when you said, that people around us really don't know what to do or even feel uncomfortable because we are changing, which
Yes.
grief is so known for, doing out of character things all of a sudden that we don't do or say or behave normally. And this grief it's almost like a hormone that gets released that is uncontrollable. I like to compare it
I
with
like
postpartum.
that.
I like to compare it with postpartum depression because
Ah,
seriously, it was uncontrollable. Uncon Maybe with pills, with the clinical pills that I personally, for me, refused because I was scared.
yeah.
I'm scared of pills and I'm scared of all of that, except for Advil gel pills for my headache. you know,
Right.
but it was uncontrollable. And what I did for me to let people know around me is but that's me, and I don't know how, what maybe could be another thing if you're not a person that doesn't have such issues communicating. I wrote everybody a letter or a text,
Oh, wow,
and
that's great.
I told them, listen, I'm going to be MIA for I don't know how long. I love you. This has nothing to do with you. Please don't call me, don't text me, don't do anything for a minute until I reach back out to you, because I know people wanted to say, and then the person that is not going through it, what do you say? I'm sorry, my condolences. Do you need coffee? Do you need food? What, like, you don't want to be, because again, to some people that felt overwhelming, and
Yes.
people want to whatever because out of love. And if you don't say anything, it might be to somebody, well, you don't care about my feelings. So
Right.
again, like you said, it's uncomfortable for the people around us. But what I chose is to send out a text and write a letter, um, at that time, to my husband. And I very precisely explained in that letter what I would need specifically from him in my life at that time. And I feel me writing it out and really voicing, because for me, I don't know how you were, Dr. Sherry, but when it happened for me, I wanted to talk about them. I wanted to talk about them. I wanted the stories. I wanted to cook like her. I wanted to
Right.
do everything,
Right.
but I know that people don't want to do that at all. Some people don't want to even talk about the person that passed. So it's so individual, right? But what was maybe something, or what could you maybe add, for instance, if it's not writing a letter and letting everybody know, or like, what is another tool that we can let others know around us? Like, hey, back off, or come closer, or whatever.
Well, I think what you did was brilliant, really brilliant. There are so many people that can't even get to that point. They they just they're so closed up and
Yeah.
historically so closed up. This is not
Yeah.
a new behavior for most people. They just kind of go inward and don't allow uh,
Yeah.
and don't communicate. Communication is always key. I have a little story. When I was in acupuncture school, which I want you guys to know was a 4-year program, very intense, learned all about herbs, learned all about pathways, the pathophysiology of Oriental medicine and all of that. I did an internship at hospice
Mhm.
and in San Diego, which is where I went to school. And there was a lady that I got to know because we would do treatments on the family members as well as the patients
Mhm.
or the clients. And when I was first going in there, her mother, who was in hospice, everybody knew she was dying. She wasn't getting any extra care. She was just staying comfortable. She was pretty alert most of the time. And her daughter, who was the only child, said to me, my mother never wanted me to talk to her about anything. We did not talk feelings. We didn't never talked feelings at all. And a couple weeks later, we were talking and she goes, my mother's weaker. She's not responding. I go in, I hold her hand, and I want to tell her things, but I don't because she never wanted me to.
Oh.
And I encouraged her to tell her. I go, what have you got to lose at this point? Tell her how you feel. And
Yeah.
it may even benefit her because maybe she was afraid to find out, thinking that you didn't love her or that you didn't care. So by telling her all your feelings and how you loved her and you were happy to be with her and go through this process with her and everything, it could mean a lot to her.
Yeah.
And it will mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
And she did. She did it.
I love
And then she wrote me a thank you letter for helping her to
Yes.
do that because she was so stuck
In
trying
that
to
pattern,
please
in that
other.
pattern that she
Yes,
learned from mom, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And she said how in the letter, how she felt that relief and she felt that her mother received it well and was in a happier state. And her
Mm-hmm.
mom passed that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. I feel like that is such a great way to also, I mean, I'm so happy that you did that because it probably that regret, right? Even though
Right,
it was not on purpose, because that was a pattern she learned. It
right,
wasn't even her own. It wasn't even her own pattern. She just adopted to the pattern, kept it going. But
right.
alone the regret that this woman escaped now to not
Exactly.
say, and then also, even I want to add, for me, I speak to my parents every single day. I literally connect with them. That might sound crazy to other people, but literally for me, I have a way of literally connecting to them in my own prayer time, that I hear what they're telling me. And even maybe for people that didn't have the chance to say what this woman did through you, because they either don't have somebody like you to encourage them, or it's
Right.
simply too late,
Yeah.
or it was the last conversation that they had was awful. I
Right.
still feel like, it doesn't matter. They're around us.
Yes.
Sit down. If it can be in your car, it could be in a shower, it could be in a bathroom, it could be anywhere. Just, stay within you, calm down, close your eyes and just speak. Just speak. Just
Right.
speak what you have to say. And it doesn't matter if you find yourself being spiritual or not, or religious, or just, none of this matters. None of it matters. What matters is that you are letting it out, by just saying whatever it was that you couldn't say or didn't get the chance to, or whatever. But I feel like, if you do get the chance, absolutely say anything. Because for me, I was very blessed. I had a perfect relationship with both of my parents.
That's great.
So there was nothing, not even to the last minute, where it was like, today I look back and something, nothing. I mean, little things. I wish I would have been there more often for Christmas and their birthdays, because I chose to live in this country.
Yes.
But, emotionally wise, there was nothing where I'm like, oh my God, you know, but yeah, that's so helpful.
Yes.
So helpful.
Something I like to do too is sing. So I'll turn on the radio or excuse me, how old am I? But I will, I will go on Spotify or Pandora.
Yeah,
Okay, is that better? And I will say,
you're so
I'll
good.
get my playlist out and
Yeah,
I'll pick some songs and I'll dance around and sing. And there's
yeah.
just something so uplifting. And it can be a message to the universe, or it can
Totally.
just be for me.
Yeah.
It's whatever I am feeling at that moment.
Yeah. I think the overall umbrella is literally just to allow yourself to feel through it. Whatever that is, good, bad,
Yes,
uncomfortable, happy, unhappy, mad, not mad, allow yourself to feel it like it's part of your current existence.
yes,
Right. And so the more we hold back, and the more we're not, allowing that to float out of us in any way. And like you said, I love that. It could be through dancing. How cool is that? Like, turn on the tunes and like dance and like, you
right,
know, yeah, or just do a crafty thing that you maybe never done before. Paint some
right,
stones, or start painting, or journal, or just maybe go to a karaoke bar. Things, I feel like, when we allow ourselves through this deep pain to all of a sudden come do something we've never done before, I feel like through that braveness and that courage of us wanting to now on purpose even more to live our best life, I feel
Yes.
like that's when all the blessings are really coming and all the doors are opening, because
Yes.
now we get response from above. It's like, okay, I see you. That's what you want. Here, I'm gonna send you more.
I do believe that too. Yes. Yes, I believe that. It's,
Yeah.
you know, Jamie Anderson, who's an author and he, from what I understand, he wrote Doctor Who.
Hmm.
He has some interesting quotes about grief. And a friend of mine sent me that when Diane had first died. And it was, grief is um, it's just love with no place to go.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I go, exactly. It's just so much love with no place to go. So how can I give it a place to go? How
Yeah.
can I spread it around? How
Yeah.
can I do this to express the love that I felt,
Yeah.
the love that I have? And that was part of how I got involved in doing the coaching too.
Yeah.
Just knowing
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
really amazing.
And I do feel like, through certain life experiences that we do experience, I feel like that it is a different type of help or listening ear, because you simply know that person been through that. And I'm not saying anybody who hasn't been through anything, and we have friends that want to help or family members, that's beautiful, that's beautiful. But fundamentally, nobody can feel what you feel when they've unfortunately didn't experience the same pain, right? And I feel like when we then take that part of us and we want to not only help ourselves and have the courage to actually move on, have the courage to really say, like, you know what? I had these people in my life for a reason. I'm so blessed. But now it's just not part of me anymore, but I'm moving on anyway. That's courage. That's
Mhm.
strength.
Yeah, it
That
is.
is that is really showing how strong your soul actually is, right? And then all the other aspects, whatever people believe or don't believe spiritually, not religiously, it doesn't matter, but whatever people do believe can definitely help. But I also feel like then to take that and want to help somebody else, I mean, what better way of planting a seed? what
Yeah,
what what better way of literally taking all of that and showing somebody, hey, there's a light. Super dark now, I get it, I so get it, it's so
yes,
dark and it sucks and it's horrible, but you know what, there's a light, and
yeah,
I'll be here when you get there, and
yeah.
and so for that, I think it's there's no better way, there's no better way of giving back, just giving back to anybody that is ready to receive it. Because, there's people that go through grief and they're simply not ready to do any kind of work. And that's okay.
It
And
is.
then that's okay, because it's all in their own time.
Yes.
And, but I am happy that when it is time for them, that they have somebody like you, that they can come to and be like, look, this is where I am right now.
I have another little story, if that's okay.
Yes.
I was in an airport and I was at Cinnabon and it was crowded. And so this gentleman asked if he could sit at the other chair, use the other chair. So I said, sure. And somehow we got talking and told me he was a lawyer. I said I was a nurse. And he goes, this is random. I mean, this is a stranger, total stranger in the airport, really random. And somehow he started telling me how he had been the sole caretaker of his wife for the last year and a half of her life. She had cancer, and she had died 6 months earlier. And he went on to say how after a couple months, his friends kept encouraging him, telling him he needed to get out. He needed to get out. He needed to date. He needed to meet other women. He needed to have a life. And I didn't ask a lot of details, but he was going on. So he said he finally did. He did have a date. They fixed him up with somebody. And he said, I was not ready. I felt like the whole evening was just about her and what she wanted. And I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to be there. And he felt, so it made him feel like he was a failure. It made him feel like he wasn't doing his part. Like, and you could tell that by the way he was saying this. And I said to him, well, there's Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book about death and dying. And she talked about the 5 stages of, denial, anger, bargaining, grief, or depression, and then acceptance. And that it would take like a minimum of a year to go through these stages. And I said, so, you're just fine. You are just okay. You are fine because you have not had enough time to really go through all the stages.
Right.
And at that point, we both had a plane to catch. But it was like a weight. You could almost see physically that from sitting like this, that he goes, a weight had been off his shoulders, that he was suddenly okay. And he could go home and he could tell his friends that he was okay.
Right.
And that he just needed more time. And some people you have to approach in more of an academic way. He was a lawyer. He was into being more academic. My idea of an academic anyway, facts and figures.
More logical and rational.
And so when I could give him that example, that was a book and it had been approved and she wrote it in 1969, so it had been around for a long time. And he was like, okay, I can go back and I can grieve in my own way.
Right. Absolutely.
And I can,
absolutely.
And gave him permission.
Right. And I feel that's so important, to really understand from your own self that you are in control of that. You are absolutely in control of that. You are in control of your timelines. You're in control of your, however, when you're okay, when you're not okay, and it's really about nobody else other than just you and your own healing. And healing can be for somebody 5 months, and healing can be for somebody for 5 years. There's no one works for all solution ever. Right. And same with the stages,
So you go back and forth in those. They're not really linear. Right. They're not all in order. You can go through different ones. And now I understand that some people say there's 7 stages, which, one is shock and one is testing. And so to me, those are like subsections of denial and of bargaining. But, if I don't want to make it more complicated. We don't need to make it more complicated, innuendoed, and well, maybe it's more like this. Well, that's fine if you want to do those mental gymnastics so that you don't have to feel, so that you don't have to look inside. I can play that game. I can do that. But you know what? You're still going to have to feel.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about that. I feel to really achieve complete healing, you have to feel.
Yes.
You have to feel, you have to accept, and you have to allow your own time to combine healing and accepting whatever matches with your own temple the best.
Yes.
But one without the other will work.
Right.
You know, I
I
mean,
agree.
and I feel like that heart-to-heart conversation that you choose to have with him, even though you picked up on him being more rational personality, more logical, and more I need proof kind of personality, which is
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yes.
But even through that, heart-to-heart conversations can never go wrong. No matter if you're the most academic, logical, literal person in the world, you know, if somebody speaks to you from the heart and you receive that, like there's no other way. But oh my God, this was such a great conversation. This was so thank you so much for opening yourself and being so vulnerable with your own personal story and sharing, you know, your own personal tools on what, you know, you experienced for you, but also sharing tools that others, you know, can really maybe experience and just being willing to do this with me, you know, like this I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. This has been a great conversation. I
Yeah.
agree. And I hope you don't mind me mentioning, but
No?
my website is wherespirittakesme.com. And people can see me there. They can actually Google Sherry Shoemaker, PhD,
Yeah.
and they can find me if they want to find out more about me.
And I hope they will. And I hope they will, because I can only speak from my own experience, and I did not have the privilege to work with you in that aspect, but I know that this works.
Yes.
And you know, now looking back, um it would have been amazing to have you as an addition to my grief share group. I would have loved that. You
Oh,
know, I personally would have loved that. So I know this can help. This 100% can and will help. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, whoever is meant to hear this will hear it and they find you.
all right, Žana. This
Okay.
has been terrific.
Thank you so much. And as always, podcast lovers, if there's anything that you guys have to say, maybe to this topic, maybe another topic, anything you have on your heart, you know, my mic and my video channel are always open for you. So come and join me on this amazing journey where we are creating you know, like a safe verbal place for everybody. But until then, stay rooted, stay grounded, stay blessed, and always stay connected to the strongest force in the universe, love.